I don't know, just shoot for you. Don't shoot for Instagram. Don't shoot because you want to be famous. Don't shoot because you want to be best friends with this big rapper. Just shoot because you want to.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it for the right reasons, then you need, like, just don't do it at all. That's what I think.
Yeah, and big thing, stop being fucking weird and trying to get girls naked because you have a camera.
Yeah,
You're weird as hell.
That
Google exists, bruh.
Yeah, that shit happens
Stop
way too
saying,
much.
oh, I got an idea for a shoot, alright, get naked.
Yeah, like, bro. There's an actual business side to it and like a stylistic side to it, but a lot of the time it's fucking weirdos randomly going, yo, I have an idea for a shoot, let's do this.
Yeah.
And just because you have a camera does not fucking... Even if you didn't have a fucking camera, it doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I'm horny is not a concept.
Money, 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 I just made a big deposit. That girl, she's so cute, I wanna put her in my pocket. You could pay rent with the shit that's in my closet. Wings on my back, baby girl, I'm a prophet.
Hi, my name's Kian Gannon.
I'm JETLAG, and this is our top 5.
Sick. I think that one was better.
That was clean.
Yeah. So, yeah, my name's Kian. I'm a photographer. I started about 2.5 years ago. Shot film for the first year. It was mostly doing sort of stuff during lockdown. Mostly on the street in my neighborhood, just getting used to shooting and figuring out like the basics. Eventually started shooting events and stuff thanks to Jet and Henry. Shot Zen Night 6, which was my first show and first sort of like introduction to the community, and then switched to digital just based on film prices and just like it's not the best for events in my opinion. And yeah, I've been on digital ever since, so I try to shoot as much as possible, portraits and stuff as well, and stuff for locals only, so that's the gist of it at the moment.
Hi, I'm Jet, better known online as JETLAG. I'm also a photographer. I got my start. Technically at school we had cameras for a portion of our media arts class, and I hated photography because we were assigned to go out and shoot nature, like landscapes, buildings, and I thought this is the worst thing ever. And while I had the camera, one of my friends was having an event and he said, yo, if you have a camera, come bring it out. Doesn't matter if the photos are good or bad, I just want to kind of get photos of the night. And while I was there, I realized that I absolutely loved taking photos of people. So it wasn't really photography that I hated, it was the subjects. And since that night, I have attended too many events.
And so now we're gonna get into my top 5.
Yeah.
So starting with this photo, this is one of Erick of Sophia's side, backstage at their show at the Homa Combo. They played with Wiener Kebab, Crash Prinny, and Basque Noise. So it was a great show. I like this photo. I think it's a little bit more intimate, being that it's sort of backstage right before they went on, having his makeup done. Austin's in the back there as well, as well as his girlfriend Illy, and I believe Paulo's girlfriend as well in the white there. Yeah, there's something about that moment. It was sort of chaos in the green room at the moment. There was like 1 million people in there and a lot of stuff going on, so I just wanted to look for something that was interesting, and saw him in the corner and just reached over, clicked the shutter, didn't really check any settings, just didn't think too much about it. And then when I got the photo back and was editing, I don't know, it just felt like a cool little moment. I really like how the arm sort of, if you look at Austin, his arm then connects to the top of Erick's head, and then you follow it down through her arm, and it creates a sort of cool shape in the middle, and you have this sort of triangle between them. So something simple, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it's an interesting look into sort of what happens before they hit the stage and do what they do best.
So again, this is the top 5. This is the 5th photo out of the 5. One of my favorites of all time. Actually, the girl that's in the shot, her name is You Dump Him on Instagram. I thought it was Dump Him for a long time, so that's the title of the photo. And just like what Kian said about, you know, structure of a photo, I love how her hair is elevated and kind of coiled. It's stopped in motion. As well as this day was just really fun. This was at Electric Island 2021, I believe. and it was a good day, and her mom said she wanted to frame the photo, so that's always a great compliment.
All right, so moving on to number 4. This photo was taken at Pep Rally, one of their events at Coda. I was heading to the bar to grab water, because like any venue or club, it like gets really sweaty in there. And this guy walked past me, and I could see there was writing on the back of his shirt, and I didn't know what it said. So I looked over, sort of read the quote, "We are ugly, but we have the music," and like literally dropped the glass of water, like ran over. I was chasing this guy for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes. I was like, I need to get that. And sort of right as we came around this corner by that beam there, I saw just out the corner of my eye someone coming the other direction, and once again just like blind shot from the hip. And then when I sort of got it back and was looking through it, I don't know, this photo sort of meant a lot to me. Just the quote on the back just says a lot about the people at these events and how powerful the music can be. And it's sort of like, no matter what the hell's going on in my life or anyone else's, once you get into that room, like everything's cool, you don't need to worry about it. So it sort of has a bit of a sentimental thing. And subject-wise, just the girl that's running sort of past him laughing with her friend that's cut on the edge of the frame, it almost seemed to me like she was laughing at him. So in a way, it's sort of that play on like, we are ugly, but we have the music, and she's laughing at him, I guess, because he's ugly or da-da-da. It has this sort of thing that I think is a little bit special, and there's a lot of movement. You can tell they're sort of just flying right past each other. So yeah, I don't know, it's an important one. I really like this photo. This was one I printed as soon as I finished editing it, and I actually found the same guy in the same shirt at a different event and showed him it, which was really cool. So it was a bit of a full circle moment there.
Just like what you said, with her laughing in the photo and him having his back turned, it kind of is that like unwritten story. Also, I can see that very common move when walking through the crowd. You got to keep your hands behind your back. I know that maneuver of like turning your shoulder to the side. I can almost like feel myself in his footsteps, even if like any of you have been to an event. Just like, I don't know, just the motion of his body looks familiar to me. You know? So this one was the year after my 5th photo I showed at the same event. And at the first Electric Island I went to, I met this guy. His name is Kyle. He is 6 foot, I don't know, very tall, has a smiley face tattooed on the back of his head. Super sweet dude. And I took a picture of the back of his head the first time it got in the gallery, and that seemed to be one of my most popular photos. So the year after, I saw him again, and I said, let's run it back, but let's have a bunch of hands on your head, because I don't know, I like the oddity in photos, so I thought that was a way to kind of make that happen. Also, it's just the smiley face makes you happy, no matter where it is. It's almost like that, I don't know what to call it, like the light at the end of the tunnel. You see the overwhelming grasp of the hand, but he's still smiling through it. And yeah.
I think this one's like, I remember when I first saw this photo, like when it came out, when you posted it on Instagram, it was actually shortly after the gallery had happened as well. So I remember seeing it and like, I don't know, just like running it, having a second version, but like having it very different, because you could have just done it the same way twice, but switching it up with the hands and everything, like, I don't know, I loved it. I just thought it was a cool moment. You now have 2 photos that work really well as a pair, and it's like same place, same person, but different style for both of them. So yeah, I love this photo. It's a personal favorite of mine.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, number three. This was shot at Boiler Room. This was the two room warehouse rave. Probably not even a year ago, maybe 6 months ago or so. It was Pep Rally in Boiler Room. It was their room. I was there all night. The subjects in the photos are a couple friends of mine. Just like you meet people in passing through these events, and I find with this photo and a lot of other photos, especially that night, I was gravitating towards what was happening away from the stage, and I feel like I do that a lot. I make sure that I get my essential shots of DJs and what's going on and the dancing and all that. But when you sort of work your way around the corners of these venues and these warehouses and stuff, you find a lot of interesting moments, whether it's someone having a great night or someone not having a great night. There's a lot of stuff happening on the outside, and these three seem to just be like taking a break, having a smoke, hanging out on the floor, and it sort of reminded me of like 90s grunge there's sort of just street culture where you're at this sort of crazy event and there's like these three people just like sitting up against the wall, just like looking super cool, having a smoke, just hanging out. And yeah, I don't know, there's something about the like casual intimacy in this photo between the three friends that I don't know, it means a lot to me, this photo. I think it represents something interesting within the community, something away from the chaos of the stage. It's one quiet moment in a room full of loud moments, so yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, just to add on to that, when I looked at it at first, same thoughts. It's almost like the calm before the storm, but on the other hand, it's the calm during the storm. And I know the feeling of like finding that corner in a room that's just, the DJs are spinning, people are performing, whatever, it's going crazy, and you always find those people that just gravitate to that quiet corner in the room. And shout out to them, they hold it down and keep the vibes very, very high but very calm. Yeah. So yeah. This one was at a video shoot for my friend Nick Souza. High budget music video. They rented out this vintage car. They had a bunch of smoke machines, lighting. It was directed by the 97 Dragon Andic, I believe his name is. But yeah, this is just, the name of the photo is Good Night because I had a good night. It was really dope to be on a set where a lot of these things were just provided to me visually. Most times I shoot on the fly. This was one of the first shoots I did where there was actually some, some structure to it. Also, this was the first night I found out about Brazilian funk music Nick put me on, so just good memories attached to it. I also like the way the car just kind of protrudes out of the background. It looks kind of 3D to me, and yeah.
This is a cool one. I think there's a lot of contrast in this one, and that's what sort of makes like the background and the side of the car there. It gets, the shadows are really dark, and then you have that smoke. And I met Nick like maybe a couple weeks ago, and I recognized him, and I couldn't figure out why I recognized him, and it was from this set. So we were talking about it. I don't know. It shows it's like a very small community, and this photo is just great. The whole set was great, but this one specifically is very like punchy.
Thank you. Punchy is a good word for it.
Alright, this is number 2. This is a big one for me. It's a portrait, even though it's shot in landscape like most of my stuff, but it's a portrait of Erick the Architect and Akon. So I had the opportunity to shoot their show in Toronto. Erick dropped an EP called Future Proof, and they did 3 or 4 shows, and funny enough, Toronto was one of the locations, which is pretty rare when it comes to American tours. Yeah, and I essentially just cold emailed one of the managers and was praying to God I could get in. I mean, I would have been there as a fan regardless. I've been listening to these guys and their groups since I was like 13 or 14. So getting there and being able to shoot it was cool enough. And then getting walked up to the green room and being able to meet them like in such a casual environment was like the craziest thing to me. I remember I was like texting my brother and I was like, dude, you're not gonna fucking believe this. Like, I can't believe what's going on right now. Super down to earth guys. And this was right before they went on. They were sort of getting everything set up. You can see Erick has his in-ears in and they're about to get ready. We did a couple portraits and then they went out for their set. And yeah, I don't know, this was big. This was one of these moments where after this show I got back to my car, and I'll be completely transparent, I got back to my car and cried for like a solid 5 minutes, just cause like, I don't know, it was big. These guys are like legends in my eyes, and being able to shoot them and have them respect what I did was really like a heartwarming moment for me. So this is a cool one, and just the way they're standing is a fun pose, and the fisheye really distorts this one, and you can see it distorts their body in a sense where they're sort of like curving in towards each other. So yeah, a very fun one, a very important one for me.
Yeah, this was surreal to see when Kian posted it, because I've also been a fan of Flatbush Zombies, if not Erick the Architect, for so long, and just the way they're standing, they give off that like I'm a legend look, and they really are. So this is one that's down the line going to be looked at as like just a legendary shot, especially for people that are fans of them and just music enjoyers in general. So two talented ass people in this shot, and the colored version is even crazier.
The color version is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So this one was another music video set. They actually tend to be my favorite shoots just because there's so much planned before. The only thing is this was not planned. This was in the Darling Mansion in Toronto. It's like this very abstract, I want to say like sex-themed house. There's a lot of like different rooms. There was a bed that was a heart and it had like palm trees leaning over it. There was a bed that was like tethered to the ceiling. And this was the dining room. There was a giant bison head on the table. There was that super cool chandelier there. And although I was doing photography, I got sent out to go grab burgers because I was the only one kind of hands-free while the shoot was going on. And so I came back, handed out the burgers. These twins were on set, Kiki and Lola. Super cool. They were just eating their burgers and I was like, this is such an odd photo. Rarely do you ever see twins eating burgers in front of a bison head. So that's why I took that shot. This was my favorite one, and probably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. This is number 2, I believe.
Yeah, number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, I feel like this photo sort of describes your style very well, in terms of it's just like a lot of weird random shit happening in one frame, but happening in a way where it doesn't feel too cluttered. Like the frame is very full, but at the same time you leave a lot of space to sort of give every object in the frame like its own separate little moment. And like the fact that it's a crazy chandelier in this crazy house and then a bison head and then twins eating burgers, it's like there's so much going on, but it all blends in really well. So this is like, yeah, top tier weird shit from Jet, but that's exactly what I think everyone loves from you, is like the really obscure stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And even we were talking about AI earlier before we were on camera, and like what I loved about this photo before has completely changed because I didn't have a word for it. I know AI was around, but if I look at it now, I think like this is like something you prompt AI to create, and that's what makes it even more beautiful. It honestly looks like it was generated by AI, which is cool. I love that like blend between machine and reality. So being able to almost, I don't know, get that to happen before it was very popular is interesting. And I hope people look at this and think it's fake as well. I think there's a pleasure to that.
Yeah, that's the biggest compliment you can get.
Okay, I guess we're going with my top 3 honorable mentions first. I guess I'll go left to right, starting off with this explosion from the pelvic region. Don't have a name for this photo. It was fairly recent. It was shot at the Queer Cabaret, which was a like drag show / burlesque show / good time. And yeah, this drag queen put I want to say, I forget the actual term for this thing.
Like a confetti.
I want to say popper, but that's very different. It's confetti cannon. Between their legs, popped it off. Just for some context, a couple of those are edited in because the original pop wasn't as crazy. But I think just the intensity of it, I hope everyone in life has experienced this moment at some point, not necessarily at a show, more during private time. Yeah, it looks very, very happy, very intense to me. It's cool.
That one's like, I remember I was in England at the time that came out, and I had shot the first Queer Cabaret, and I had heard that you were shooting the second one, so I was excited for it. And I've been meaning to ask you this, and it's actually sort of a good time, I guess, now. I have no idea how you did it, but with the flash and having the confetti, I don't know how it happened, but you somehow managed to have the subject in focus and then have the confetti like motion blurred in the background, and it's just like a very dope combination. I don't know what you did, but
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the secret right now. So like, I want to say 35 to 40% of them are actually fake and edited in. I just really Googled confetti.png or confetti transparent. I'm very simple about my editing, and I just threw some extra ones on top of it. Black and white, removed the colors because they were technically all like rainbow colors. And then I just put some motion blur on it to match the direction of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, the foundation was already laid out for me. I just had to throw a couple extra in there just for that extra effect. Yeah, thank you. Second on the lineup is a picture of my dear friend Chudy. Goes by Remsen, is his artist name. He was doing a music video at a cottage, and again, this is one of the ones where I like the photo, but I also just love the story behind it. This was yeah, so as I mentioned, he had rented out a cottage, or he was borrowing someone's cottage for his music video shoot. And there were like 2 buildings. There was one where we slept, where I got like 2 hours of sleep because I was just excited the night before. We got there late, and then we woke up like 6 or 7 a.m. to shoot. And this was the second house. It just looked a lot nicer inside for the music video. It was for his music video for the song 5. And it was freezing cold in there. So although this photo looks like I was there working all day, I have to admit I kind of dropped out halfway through the shoot and opted into doing the dishes and waiting inside the warm cottage as they busted out the rest of the footage for this. So I don't know how Chudy even stood there. He was there filming for like 11 hours. Imagine yourself in like a fridge for 11 hours. I was like in pain, but mind over matter. He's a beauty, and yeah, I just like the framing of this shot. I've never really done landscape before, but I felt that the pictures in the back of the photo, the ducks, the ceiling fan kind of separated him, put him in the foreground, and yeah, it just looks very, I don't know how to describe it. I guess there's many ways to interpret it, but looks like some basis for a thriller.
Dude, I love the landscape. I mean, I'm biased because I shoot landscape, but seeing you drop a landscape photo is always fun. And like the exposure is just really clean. Having those windows blown out and everything is just, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that like pops. It makes him stand out.
Moving on to the third, which is a picture of the boy Akon. This was literally shot last week.
A couple days ago.
Yeah, shout out to Kian. He invited me to the Hot in Here festival, got me a photographer pass, and I somehow got my way back into the backstage area where I was waiting for some time for Akon to come out. He's a legend. He's like the soundtrack of my childhood. I wouldn't even mention the songs that are my favorite because I don't think I'm allowed to say that on here. Should I hint? The one with Lonely Island is definitely up there. Something about, I just had something, I can't remember. But yeah, so I was waiting there for Akon for like 10 minutes, and you know, photographers flock when there's someone walking out, a big celebrity. But I guess Akon noticed that I was there for a little, and he came over, and people started rushing, and he was like, yo, everyone chill out. Let this guy get his shot. He let me get the shot. I even asked him to hold his chain, and he's like, nah, I don't do that. I'm not one of these rappers. And then I just had like a very brief conversation with him. So to like know that he's such a cool guy in person just makes this photo so much better. I don't know, always had love for Akon, and to actually say I've had like a 2 to 5 minute conversation with him just brings that love to a whole new level.
Sweet. I didn't know the story behind like that shot. I had no idea that you got it, or like that it happened until you posted it, which was cool. It was a nice surprise, and like, yeah, man, his set was great. His set was like probably one of the best sets of the day. Like, it was just a lot of fun, and the opportunity to be there was like, always a pleasure. So, honorable mentions. This is a weird 3. This is a really weird 3 for me. I'm gonna start on the right side at the bottom. I'm gonna start with the black and white. So that was New Mass, the original New Mass. The reason I decided to throw this photo in, I think there are probably more obvious shots of New Mass that I could have thrown in there. There's the one of Paulo's entrance holding the cross. There's a lot of photos there, but this one specifically just sort of means a lot to me because there's a lot of people I can see in the crowd that I didn't even know at the time and then met later on. So it's always cool going back and being like, oh, there's Angelos in the front and like a bunch of people in the back. And I don't know, something about New Mass is like a legendary event in Toronto that's never happened since. Like, they did the second one, as you can see above, but the first one will always go down as like probably my favorite event to shoot, and like probably one of my best set of photos for that time. So yeah, just a lot of sentimental value in that one, and the venue, Vache, unfortunately closed down. So there's sort of that as well. It's one time I was able to immortalize a event and a time, and we got very fortunate, and unfortunately that was taken away, but we move forward, and it is what it is. And yeah, that photo just means a lot based on the time and the people that are involved in it. It's not so much about the technical aspects of that photo, because it's not necessarily the most creative, but it means a lot to me personally. And then moving above it, we have New Mass 2, which was a different style for them. I mean, it was still New Mass, but working with Lotion and having DJs on the lineup and having a way bigger space, and things were just laid out very differently. It was interesting to see that change from the first one, and I think these two go together very well because they show very different nights, but at the same time a common theme sort of pulling everything together. And that shot of Tristan on the cross is just something I was waiting for all night. I needed to get a shot with him there and then the cross in the distance, and I followed him around for probably like 2 or 3 minutes as they were carrying him, just blind shooting up in the air, hoping to get something. And yeah, this one just lined up really well. I like the composition on it. It's you have him in the bottom right, and it sort of like leads you to the top left of the frame where the other cross is. So yeah, man, I mean, it's nothing nothing too overly meaningful for me personally, but I think it's just a good solid photo. So that one's definitely a favorite.
I just gotta say on top of that, the new mass I feel like is agreed upon by everyone as like one of the best events that has gone down. I remember I was being interviewed for an article, and I mentioned that New Mass 1 was like my favorite event I've ever shot or been to, and she mentioned that she interviewed like 4 other people that said the exact same thing. Like everyone, time after time, was just saying that was it, that was it. Obviously there are many other amazing ones I've been to, but that one was just, it was so out of left field.
Yeah.
Like Paulo walks in holding the cross. I didn't expect anything.
We didn't know what was gonna happen. We just showed up. I was wearing a blazer, and we were like, all right, we'll see what this is.
Yeah. And what's funny is that we're often both at the same place at the same time. Like we were both at both of these events, and we'll just take a corner of the room almost, because we never really get the same angle on things.
No, there's always it's always fun. Like one of my favorite things in general, and this goes for all the events and all the photos. If we're at the same event, it's like I'm itching for you to drop your photo. Like I'm waiting to see, because I'm always interested to see like the difference.
Yeah.
Especially like you shooting portrait, me shooting landscape, us having very different styles, and like just seeing if there's any similarities in just how we like approached the night and how we decided to capture things always has its own like unique thing to it. So it's just, I don't know, it's cool. It's like you can see through both of our eyes how we saw that night in 2 separate ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when like I feel like I'm gonna miss a shot, like the shot of Tristan, I also tried to follow him around. The crowd was pretty tight, so it's just good knowing that I see your flash going off in the corner of the room, and I know that it's not gonna be lost.
Yeah. So it's always good when something happens and I'm like, I didn't get it, but I know Jet's over there and he probably got it.
Yeah.
As long as someone gets it, we're happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then moving on to the last one, this one is really an oddball. This one is very different for me. It's a really old photo I took about 3 years ago when I had first started. I think this was my 4th or 5th roll of film. This is downtown Oshawa. I can't remember what this building is, but at that time the sun was hitting really well. I was walking around for a while just shooting frames of anything that I found interesting, just sort of learning photography, figuring out colors and compositions and how to make a photo, how to make a photo that looked good. And for my first 4 rolls, there was nothing really there that hit me. I couldn't figure it out, and if I'm being honest, it really bothered me, because I jumped into it and I got obsessed with photography, and I just thought at that point, like, I'm trying so hard to do this and I just can't get anything. So hitting this shot and getting this scan back from the lab was like one of the most like fulfilling moments, I would say, just in general through all of my photography, is seeing this shot. The colors are just really clean. The shadows are nice and dark. It blends in really well, and that patch of sky in the corner is perfect blue with no clouds. So it just, yeah, it's a clean photo. It's not groundbreaking, but it's a photo that started a lot of things for me. This one hit, and then I got another one that hit, and every once in a while I would go from having no photos on a roll coming back to having 15 keepers on a roll, or I get most of the roll is decent, and over time that ratio just grew. So this one is the beginning of a lot for me, so I feel like it needed to be in here for that reason alone.
Yeah, I do think this one is groundbreaking. I think I remember when you posted this, I even replied to it. I don't know if the story like function was a thing then, but I definitely dropped a like on it. It almost seems to me like this is something that had to have been out of someone's imagination, like something someone had drawn or painted. Just the way the colors are, the way the shadows hit, the way it's lined up. And again, you mentioned the blue patch on the top left corner. I don't know, I think this might be my favorite photo of yours.
All right, number one. I don't know where to start with this one. This photo was taken at Chippy's birthday rave that they did. Pep Rally put on a rave for her birthday, and they sort of had everyone in the center, and everyone was dancing, and we had like one person after another. There's actually a couple versions of this with different people. This one just managed to hit the best, being that the subject is just flying through the middle, arms in the air. When I look at this photo, there's parts about it that I don't like. I think I was in a time where I was warming up certain things too much. Like that hand in the foreground is like way too warm, in my opinion now. But regardless, this frame means a lot to me personally, and also just as a photo, I think it's well taken. I think the smoke worked in my favor. I think the hands with the phone on the right side is like a nice little thing that sticks out because you can't see their face or anything. And this was also the photo that they used for the Blog TO interview that we were both involved in. This was the cover photo for it, which I didn't know was gonna happen. So when I saw this and they decided to use this one as the cover, that alone, like for that reason, it's number one. And just for the reason that I think it's a well taken frame, and I think that sums up the entire night. And there's a really funny moment. I remember they had people going in and dancing, and there's a lot of like Vogue and stuff going on. Everyone's flying through, and some random girl went in, and she was the one white girl to go in and start dancing. And I remember whoever was on the mic just like yelled like, "Ashley, get the fuck out of here!" And like I felt so bad, but at the same time, like, yeah, it was not a good call for her to get in there, but
how do you even take that?
Yeah.
How do you take that? Say, Actually, get the fuck out of the circle. How do you like? Because you know some people can fall over and like get into a push-up.
The fact that she like, most definitely her name was legit not Ashley, but the fact that she was just some white chick and she like walked in and started fucking, and they were like, "Get the fuck out of here! This is not for you. This is not for your fucking people." I remember everyone just started fucking laughing. I felt awful for her. I was like, "Oh,
that's
no."
really funny. How do you like comfortably exit that situation? Like go home.
Yeah, dude, I think she probably did.
To leave.
Yeah, you just go home.
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, Ashley for the rest of the night.
Yeah, rip her, man. That's right.
But it's also
but if she was also like, if she started like going nuts on the dancing, then they probably would have not given a fuck. But it's the fact that she went in and was just doing some like white girl fucking jig, and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here." They're like, "No, you're done."
You can't be hitting the Irish.
Bro, that's like me getting in there and fucking like, "Bro, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy?" You know what?
That's so funny though.
It makes for a good story. It's a fun photo. And yeah, for the Blog TO thing alone, like that's one that I decided is going to be up there for a while and will be printed and may end up in a book at some point. It's one of those moments you get once, and I was fortunate enough to get it, and it didn't happen again for the whole night. There was not a single photo from that night that really hit like this one did. So
I think I take away exactly what you described. Like as you were describing and I was looking, like I'm gonna say something about his arms, I'm gonna say something about the hands with the phone coming out of the smoke, because that's just what caught my eye immediately. But you literally, like, I think it's undisputed. You look at this photo and you have to recognize all those things. So yeah, beautifully said. You spoke my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this photo, but
yeah,
it's cluttered, but it's organized clutter in a way. Yeah, this is like, yeah, number one, my favorite as of right now.
Alright, so this one, what do I say about this one?
Legendary.
First I will start off by saying this is, funny enough, the person who hosted the first event I ever shot at. And if you have ever seen those photos, you will see that it was a very weird night. We had a deaf DJ, some screamo music, some like ambiance, I don't know, experimental sounds. This was the first night I met Dent, who's also invited me out to a bunch of other events. Just a very pivotal moment. His name is Ben. He just put me onto a lot. He's also just a very, eccentric person. I always describe him as being like a real life cartoon character. And this was not something I requested. This was not planned. We were swimming in the Christie Pitts pool at night, and he had sparklers on him. and he was walking around with one in between his butt cheeks, and I thought this would be a great photo. And it was. It's one of my favorites. It's actually definitely my favorite photo I've ever taken. I loved it a lot the first time I edited it because I just made the background black and kind of highlighted him pink. It just kind of looks like, I don't know, some type of real abstract magazine shot. But the other thing that brought my love up for this a lot more is the fact that I posted it on Instagram, and within 2 minutes it was removed by Instagram's bots. I disputed the claim. A real live person came and said, yeah, this is fine, this is okay, this is absolutely not what the bot said it was, and put it back up. And 2 minutes later the bot went and took it down again. So the title of this piece is called Twice Removed. And yeah, fuck Instagram's bots. I still can't post this to this day. It had me shadow banned for a month. No one was seeing anything I was posting. But I think one day I want to print it up super big and put it in a gallery. Yeah, also shout out Ben. It was kind of painful, I believe. Once it got lower on the stick.
Yeah. It gets worse and worse the longer you take.
Yeah, also the Star Wars underwear too. It was just too, it was too good altogether. Yeah.
The color on this one is like probably my favorite editing that you've ever done. I think having the black and white and isolating him in this pink and like keeping those highlights there and not pulling them down too much, because I don't know if you have the habit, but I have the habit of when things are too bright in the highlights, I always try to pull them down because it just fucks with my brain. Yeah. So to see that you can like leave it there and it adds to it is just, I don't know, something I really enjoy because I don't do it too often. And I don't know, this photo just, it has that obscure, weird, like, where else are you gonna find this look? And I don't know, I think it describes your style in a really, like, positive way. But,
yeah, I guess. All right. Shout out to all the humans watching Not Humans TV. Thanks for checking in. We hope you guys weren't offended by a lot of our shots, specifically mine. We hope you loved them. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk through our photos. I mean, I don't get the opportunity to do this really ever, other than to maybe some friends, and even we don't get to talk about our photos to each other that often. I mean, it might be brief sometimes, but it's been cool to break things down, and I think for me at least it will materialize like moving forward when I'm working. I can think about the things that I've done in these photos and how I'm gonna improve on those. So I don't know, it's a good exercise I think for the both of us. So
yeah, and piggyback off of that quickly, like I think a lot of the allure of our photos is not going online and describing every single one. I feel like a lot of people take a photo and they really break it down. So again, as much as we speak about these, I think we both are very open to different interpretations of it. Yeah. I think people can see different things in it, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Shout out Calvin, shout out Alessio for setting this up.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, call it a day.
Hey.
Thanks for watching.
I make moves and make the moves movies. I was born to ball like I love Lucy, and I'm rockin' Ricky, baby, fuck that Gucci. I just wanna make y'all wish you never knew me. I make moves